being here. Obviously, a disappointing outcome at Purdue on Saturday. Thought our guys responded really well yesterday. Came in ready to work, ready to learn, and learn from our mistakes. So, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. We got a tough opponent, obviously, coming up here in Ohio State. We just started our game plan, so I don't have a ton of information just yet. They are the number one team in the country, so I'll let you kind of determine how good they are. But looking forward to a great opportunity. So, questions?
When you look at your defense and trying to find short-term solutions, how do you look at it from a coaching scheme and personnel standpoints?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you kind of have to look at right now. Unfortunately, some of our best players are out, and it seems like every week it's just the inconsistency of who's actually out there. Again, there's no excuses. I mean, 100% falls on the coaches and what we have to do to get them better. But you just got to find who's going to be in there, what can they do, what can't they do. Ultimately, the roster and the depth and where we are, that falls on the head football coach in terms of roster management and where you're at and what you're doing and what your philosophies are and what you're building. Sometimes you got to take a step back to go 2 steps forward. So then there's things outside your control with injuries that everybody deals with, some less, some more. So that's kind of where we are. So we'll just schematically we'll look at who's in there, what can they do, what are they capable of doing. But we were in a tough predicament last week, and a lot of the not just one position, but it was tough sledding for some of the safeties and linebackers, and I think you could see that with the performance that Purdue had. So proud of their effort. I mean, nobody's ever questioning their effort. I mean, they play so darn hard, and I love that as a head coach because we'll get the other stuff fixed. Over time, we'll get that fixed. They'll be really good players. We're playing people probably ahead of when they should play. However, when you look at them, my mind on the sideline when some of the things were coming out, and it kind of brought me back to the 2018 Maryland game, if you remember. And that's where my mind went. And Jordan Howden, who's starting in the National Football League right now, who's a really good football player and was a great player for us. And I love Jay Howe, and he's probably going to see this as a coach. You always talk about that game. But, I mean, he says it wasn't, but I think there were 3 touchdowns single-handedly he was responsible for, that it wasn't even close. And you're like, wow. And he came off that field probably sitting there going, I'm never going to play here. And turned out to be all-conference. Not only that, being drafted and starting in the National Football League now. But he wouldn't have become the player he was if we didn't invest in him as early as we did. He was a former walk-on. So, again, it's I know it's not where everybody wants it to be, but the year 7 piece, that doesn't make a lot of sense when you're talking about it's year 7. We should be X, Y, and Z. With the portal and NIL and all those things, we knew we had an experienced team last year. This team was going to get a lot younger, a lot more inexperienced really quickly, especially with the way that we run our program. And, we showed our team that yesterday. This is a bunch of different teams. They've had, 10 wins, 9 wins, 11 wins, whatever, and then boom, there's a year they had to be able to get maybe an injury bug, or they had, to be able to get a little younger first. And that's kind of what we showed them, that it happens all over the country to a lot of different teams. And, we've had our opportunities to win a lot of games, no matter who's been in there. And I'm proud of how hard they're playing. So, but they kind of, when I was on the sideline, it reminded me of that 2018 Maryland game. But you knew they would grow up, and the investment's worth it. And I keep saying that, the investment's worth it.
You talk each week about wanting to play 60 minutes of complementary football, offense, defense, special team. But with 2 games left, at what point do you say, I don't know if this team is going to be able to do that?
Well, I don't think I'll ever say that, ever. That's not who I am, and that's not my DNA. That's not my nature. I always, when we talk about development, you got to be proud of something. You got to be grateful for what you have now, and then you got to be really excited for what's coming. I'm really excited for what's coming in the next 12 days. I'm really excited for next year. I'm really excited. I get excited about what's coming because you can see it. We have not played 100% complementary football, offense, defense, special teams. We just haven't done it. So that gives me hope that we can do it this week because I think this team can do it. We've been inconsistent with who's been out there. Not only that, just our execution of certain things, rightfully so. But we've shown flashes on all 3 phases of being a really good football team. And when you look at what's the next 12 weeks or 12 days of how they can continue to get better and keep improving, especially with how hard they're playing, anything's possible. So I'm proud of how hard they're working.
Back to tape. What were the issues up front for the defensive line against Purdue?
When I looked at it, I don't know. This is not going to get into defensive line, linebacker, safeties, corners, who's responsible. We're responsible as a defense, period. But I thought our defensive line played extremely hard. I think when you look at kind of the front seven, there were some guys that are gaining experience that, maybe out of gap here and there. But I thought the D-line, they got after it. Maybe a little bit over-aggressive at times, maybe a little bit of lack of detail. The fundamental stuff was good, but the lack of detail where I think we're trying to make a play because at some point, like somebody's trying to, take over, say, okay, I'm going to stop the bleeding here. But I thought they played really hard up front. I think, when you have some inexperienced linebackers in there, I think our under coverage and under run fit, meaning that level right there wasn't very good, wasn't up to the standard. But that was to be expected. Now, again, not accepted, but it was expected when you put people in there who haven't played a ton or haven't played at all. But again, that investment's worth it. And it's unfortunate that happened, truly. And that falls on me because I make those decisions of who goes in games. But you're doing everything you can to put your team right now in a position to win. And who's earned that opportunity. And kind of when you get down the depth chart a little bit, you're making some really tough decisions.
What do you like most about Ethan's split?
I think he's getting more consistent. By no means can you sit there and say, he's an elite quarterback in the Big Ten right now, and I don't know if he'd stand up here and tell you that. I think he's working to become that every single day, and I appreciate that from him. I think you're seeing a lot more comfort in the pocket. You're seeing a more understanding of the offense. I think you're seeing more understanding of situational football. He's thrown 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games with no interceptions. And there's massive wins inside our walls that with the development of young players, you're like, all right, I see it. Not massive wins to the outside into a result that you get judged upon and win or loss, but I'm seeing massive wins inside. I'm seeing massive wins with our young players coming back from injury, rehabbing, the way they're down there in the training room, the commitment level, the 5-6 times a day they're wearing out our trainers to get back on the field or just be in there to get healthy. Understanding how to take care of your body. There's so many wins inside of it that when you get to game day, okay, it might not be what everybody wants it to be right now, but I can see behind the curtain and I see every day inside our walls. And that's why I say nobody ever questions how hard our guys work and how hard they play. Beginning of the year, I said we had to be able to stay pretty healthy. We were going to be a little thin at some positions. We're going to be a little inexperienced. And unfortunately, you can see that that's come to fruition. That we haven't been able to stay healthy at some of the key positions that we probably weren't as deep at or had enough experience at just yet. And that's part of college football. Not excuse, reasons. And we got to continue to do everything we can for 12 guaranteed days, right, to put our best product on the field and continue to gain experience, but also go out and do everything we can to win football games.
When it comes to drops from the pass catcher position, what are the reasons you feel those keep recurring?
It's unfortunate. I think that, I can't sit there and give you the reasons. It's concentration, it's lack of focus, it's not looking at all the way in, hand placement, being friendly on your departure angle. Everything goes into that. There's a reason the NFL, tracks drops because they have a huge impact on a game. And unfortunately, there's been in some key situations that we haven't caught the ball. But, I look at the ones we have, and there's been some huge catches that we've had. And unfortunately, I think, every NFL team, every college team has some. Ours have come in some critical situations, unfortunately, and it's hurt us. But we'll just get them better and continue to do the drills that we do. And we take a premium that the ball's a program, but we've been a little inconsistent in that, which has hurt us in some games. But guys are working to fix that. I know that.
How tough was it to be without Cody Saturday after he was able to start 2 weeks ago, and what's his outlook this week?
He's one of the best players in the Big Ten, in my opinion. He's doing everything he can to get back. I know that. Our trainers do a really good job. I don't have any control whether people come back or not, when they come back or not, if they come back or not. Mike Sipniak and our whole training staff, Joy Thomas, they do such a good job of taking care of our players, and they never put them in harm's way. So, but they work really hard. And I'm telling you, Cody has lived in that training room. And, but he's the heartbeat of our defense. He's the leader of our defense. We knew that we were going to play another linebacker or two that were next to him, younger. But if there's one guy on this football team that we just couldn't lose at the beginning of the year, it was him. And unfortunately, that's college football. That's football in general. And, you can't go to the waiver wire and bring somebody in that's played 9 years of college football and ready to sign with you and has all this experience in the world. It's not anywhere close to professional football, not even close. But again, I'm responsible for the depth. I'm responsible who's on the team. The portal, obviously changes that when you get to April and you go dive into the portal and get some depth, and what you can get, what you can afford, what you can, what kind of products you're going to get at that level. I mean, things have completely changed, and I think people have to put their head around them. In college football of 2021 is not even close to where college football is in 2023, especially in roster management, depth, all that. And we're working every single day to put ourselves in the most opportunistic and premium way to build our roster for not only now but the future.
What's been key for your offense starting faster the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think that we've gotten to a rhythm. We've caught some, we've caught the balls. I think we've had a good mix of run and pass, and I think it's just I think Ethan feels a lot more comfortable just as he continues to grow. I think that's a big piece of it. I think we've started really fast. People talk about the third quarter. I thought Iowa, we came down the field. But if you look at this particular game in the second half, I mean, there's 2 drops in the first 3 possessions that just kill the drive. There's one throw that, again, we're a foot off. It's just behind a receiver, and one's just a drop. Well, when you have 2 empty possessions, I mean, that's what happens in the Big Ten, and you're not stopping anybody on defense. It puts you behind. But I really loved how we started that football game. I mean, we were in attack mode the entire first half. Even when we got to the fourth quarter, I thought we got into a pretty good rhythm as well. So unfortunately, we just couldn't stop them. And they played really well. I mean, I think that's probably the best they've played on offense all year. But part of that was when you look at our defense, I mean, it just wasn't. We weren't in the right positions. We just weren't as sound as we can be, which. Again, it's not acceptable by any means, but at times when you put some people in there, you can understand. I mean, I understand. People aren't going to understand. I'm not saying it's acceptable, but I understand. And it's my job and our job to fix that. To Andy's question of what we need to be able to do, we got to find out what they can do, who's going to play this week, and what they're capable of doing, and then apply that.
Your wide receiver background, curious, what are your thoughts on Marvin Harrison Jr.?
He's one of the best players in college football. He's got good bloodline, to say the least. But he works so hard. In basketball, I think I think you tell really good players, and by no means am I a great basketball coach, but how well do people work without the ball? And I think when you watch Steph Curry play, Steph Curry's always working without the ball to continue to get open. This guy can be the number 1 reading the progression. He could be the number 3 reading the progression. He could be away from a ball. He could be in a scramble drill. He's constantly active, and he's constantly finding a way to create separation. He'll block. He's tough. He's obviously one of the fastest players, obviously one of the best pass catchers, but it's what he does when he doesn't have the ball even in his hands that makes him an elite receiver. The ability to create separation. He does that at an elite level, understanding, different route concepts, who he's affecting, why he's running the actual route he is. And you can see that in the comfort of how people run a route. You're running a post route. It seems simple. It's a post. There's a lot of ways, depending on how you're being covered, to get to where that ball is going to be thrown. And I think he has a great knack and a feel for how defenses are going to be played and how they're going to stop them and what the route concept is and what the route calls for. So, I got a chance to be around Brian Hartline. He was a player when I was at Ohio State, and you can see why that room just continues to develop the way they do, because he was always that type of player. He was next to Teddy Ginn and Roy Hall and all these guys. And, he was the guy that kind of worked through the middle and did a lot of things and had to understand a lot of defenses. And he was fast, don't get me wrong. Hartline could run. I mean, he played in the NFL for a long time. But he was such a student of the game. And it was so fun to coach him and be around him. So you can see the influence he's had on those receivers.
PJ, when you look at Ohio State's defense, I think that's the biggest jump they've made recently. I think they're allowing less than 10 points a game. What's been key for them on that side of the ball?
Yeah, They got really good players. They got a lot of really good players. They got really good depth. I think they're well coached. I mean, I've got so much respect for Ryan and know Ryan very well. Consider Ryan a friend, and he gets them to play really hard, keep them focused, and Coach Knowles does a really good job on defense. I mean, they swarm to the ball. They're twitchy. They keep everything in front of them. I mean, it's hard to get shots on these guys and down the field throws because they're really, really twitchy, really fast, really long. All the front four, whoever they put in there, not only are they really good against the run, but they're all pass rushers. I think that's what's different with this group than I've seen maybe in the past. They've always been good, but that front four, no matter who's in there, are all really good pass rushers. Their linebackers are really good pass rushers. So they're constantly making you get the ball out of your hand quickly. And they're really smart, and they play complementary defense. So they'll give you some short ones, but they're not going to give you the big ones. And if they do, they're going to make the adjustments to make sure that doesn't happen again. So they're very active. They're Ohio State. I mean, it's the best compliment I can give them. They're the number one team in the country. So they do a lot of things right.
Pick one or two more for Coach.
Is Darius going to be available this week?
He's working, doing everything he can to get back. So we'll make that official, 2 hours before game time. I should just have a button. It just says 2 hours. 2 hours.
And Martin Harrison Jr. seem to have a great connection, played in high school together. What have you seen from Ethan Kaliakmanis and Daniel Jackson just as their connection has grown throughout the season?
Well, I think you hit it right on the head. I think their connection has grown tremendously. I think they work really hard together after practice. Daniel has grown up so much and has become such a student of the game. And not only just on the field, but with his body, his nutrition. The football has always been important to him. But I think the level of importance has just gone through the roof this past year. And you can see the belief they have in each other. They're building a strong relationship. I mean, this is not a very a long time to be able to create that. And they've done a really good job in a short amount of time, especially when your quarterback's a first-time starter. And really, I keep going back. This isn't like he started since a freshman year and played 48 games in high school and threw for 15,000 yards. Ethan is getting better with every single day in practice. The way he prepares is so much different. Same with Daniel, all of our guys. And that's why, you only get to see the game day piece and you get the interviews with the guys. I get to see it, and it's just so encouraging now for the future. Just everything the guys have been through this year, the resolve and the resiliency of this football team. It's really inspiring. It's fun to watch. They got a great outlook. They take a lot of accountability and responsibility of what goes on, and they care. One thing I love about this team, they care. Daniel Jackson cares. Ethan cares. I can go on and on. Every single one of them care. Matt Kingsbury, who got in the game, played most of the game last week. It's a true freshman. Cares. I mean, you would have thought he expected to be an all Big Ten player in that game and have 25 tackles. The way he was disappointed, after the game. I mean, that they all care, and that's going to pay off. Pays off, as you said, Ryan, in the next few days, and not only that, for years to come. So we've had some really close games. That's been well documented. We've won some. We've lost some. We've won or lost probably every way you possibly can win or lose. And this team's learning a lot. But, boy, are they fun to coach, even in really, really hard times. That's why I said after the game, I mean, that was a hard game. Bad game, hard game, but not a bad life. You know what I mean? That's a fun team to really coach. So proud of their hard work, and we got a heck of a challenge this week. So appreciate everybody coming. We'll see you very soon. Row the boat, Sky, Go Gophers. Thanks.